Hi, and welcome back to Sask Music's Indigenous History Month interview series. Today, I am so excited to talk to Modeste from the Northern Prairie Dancers. Good day, Modeste. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So, what I want to talk about specifically is the Northern Prairie Dancers and your involvement with them throughout the past, oh my goodness, has it been like 10 years now?
Let's see. We formed in, I think, July 4th of 2011. So a little more than 10 years now.
And how did that start about 10 years ago? Like, what made you guys come together as a dancing group?
Well, we started in early July of 2011 with our inaugural dance happening in, I believe it was South Bay, so just south of Isla Cross. They have an annual sort of Métis event, and they invited us up there. But prior to that, the dance group, we were dancing with through the St. Mary High School, and we were getting somewhat good at it, I guess, and we had a cohesive unit, and we just kept getting invites to go to different places, and um, we kept having to ask the school for permission. So we just wanted to break off and then form our own group so that we could be in charge of ourselves and we wouldn't have to go through the school to get permission to go and dance. So I remember we were on our way up to Isla Cross, and we were thinking of some names, like what kind of name. We just got our fresh hand-me-down shoes and fresh hand-me-down outfits, and we were on our way there, and we were trying to like drum up names, and I can't remember who it was. I always say it was my friend Darcy Bear who came up with Northern Prairie Dancers, but then Darcy always says it was me. But I don't know. Someone came up with the Northern Prairie Dancers, and that's how we started.
So, like you said, you guys start getting very good at your craft. The bookings start rolling in. You guys actually end up being super popular. Um, for, I mean, you guys were 10 years younger back then. You were pretty much teenagers. What's that responsibility like for teenagers? Trying to bring this culture into new spaces and being tasked with that responsibility.
Well, I think at first it wasn't, we didn't really feel the pressure because all we were doing was just showing up at this old dance studio downtown. Didn't have the building didn't have any power, didn't have any heat, it didn't have any running water, but we would show up there every day and we would practice dancing. So there was no pressure. It was fun. It was fun being around the dancers and being around my friends and making good memories. So there was no pressure, but sort of as we didn't do this alone, just as teenagers, we did have help from Marlene Bayer. She was the original manager of the Northern Prairie Dancers, and I'll give a lot of credit to her because it is due, because she dealt with 8 crazy teenagers, all with a little bit of an ego, I'll admit, from all the dancing and traveling. So she kept us in line. She did a great job, and she managed the group for quite a few years too. So yeah, there was no pressure. It was just fun, and we still have fun doing it. So I think that's why we've been able to also maintain our longevity as well.
Who is the main choreographer of the group these days?
The main choreographer, for the most part, has been my dance partner. She's a lead dancer. Her name is Ashla Michelle. She does most of the choreography, but when when we're all in a group and we find ourselves, usually we practice at Kinsman Park on sort of the amphitheater. So we're really at the weather's mercy. But sometimes we'll meet up there and we'll come up with new dances and new routines. And Ashla's the lead on that, but we all sort of chip in when and where we can. Sometimes we'll come up with new moves or new ideas. And but for the most part, the main choreographer is Ashla.
And what do you guys specifically call your dancing? Because I've heard square dancing, I've heard jigging. What do you guys classify it as?
Well, the Red River jig or jigging, I guess, would be more of like an individual or perhaps like a 2-person dance. Square dancing is like 6 or 8. We try to have 8. Sometimes, coordinating 8 schedules is difficult, so we'll have 6 people within a group. But the Northern Prairie Dancers, we square dance and we jig at the same time. So it's a bit of both, and they're used interchangeably. So whatever your fancy is.
Right. Since it is a cultural thing, is this specifically just for Métis people? I think that might be a common misconception out there.
I would say that is. I myself, I'm Danny Métis, and I'll tell you a little story. So I was dancing with different groups in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and this one group we got hired to go dance in Manitowabi, which is Winnipeg's powwow. And I was 18 years old. I was this kid, and I just like thoroughly believed that like jigging was like just this Métis dance. It belonged to like Métis people, and and then I was watching these square dancers, and this elder who was a veteran, he had like the medals and like a cane, and he was Ojibwe or Ojibwe. And he like came and like walked up beside me, and I'm watching these dancers, and he looked at me, and then I looked at him, and then he just like, we just started talking, and eventually he goes, "You know what? Those darn Métis, they stole the Red River jig from us." And I was floored, but I'm this 18-year-old kid in this man's territory. And this elder, this veteran, like, what am I going to say to him? So fast forward a few years later, I find myself up in, I believe it was Black Lake, and I'm sitting there watching this competition, participating, waiting for my turn. And this Dene elder comes and sits beside me, and she says, "Those darn Métis, they stole the Red River jig from us." And then a little while later, I was in the Ronge with the Cree elder, and the Cree elder, we were sitting beside each other, watching some dancing, and the Cree elder says, "Those darn Métis, they stole the Red River jig from us." So I really, through the years of dancing and traveling, I've really learned that the Red River jig, maybe it started with the Métis people. Nobody really knows where it comes from. Like they can't be like, this person in this year and this, this spot created jigging. But it was first documented, I think, in the early 1800s and with Métis people. So I think it would be safe to say it sort of started there, but now Cree people do it, Ojibwe people do it, Dene people. I've even seen competitions on YouTube, not in person yet, that Inuit people have jigging competitions too, right? So it's really grown, and it's grown through like Ontario. It's everywhere. So I really don't think I can call it Métis, because everybody does it and everybody enjoys it, which is the main thing.
So people shouldn't be so shy to get out there and try it.
Absolutely not. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's about having fun. If you're if you're not Métis, or if you're not like Ojibwe or something, don't worry. It's all about having fun. It's getting up there and just sort of letting your spirit flourish. Because I think a lot of people really look at jigging as this, like, it's a highly technical dance that involves a lot of footwork too. But also you need a strong spirit to jig. It takes a lot to go out there and put it all on the dance floor. And I think that's something that people really don't know and really don't think of, I guess, is that jigging is a reflection of one's spirit. So when you really see a dancer out there enjoying themselves, smiling, having fun, you enjoy that too. So that's something I don't think a lot of people know.
Well, and the fun, the spirit, it's right there in the music too, right? I mean, with the fiddle's a huge part of it. What's your favorite fiddle tune to dance to?
Oh, my favorite fiddle tune to dance to. Well, there's a lot of good fiddlers out there. There's Ramsey Ray, Brendan Chartrand, there's John Arcand. Also love Tristan DeRocher. Got to give Tristan a shout out. But I would say my favorite fiddler, it would be right now probably Corny Michelle. He's from Pelican Narrows, and he plays the song called Buffalo Gals. It's my favorite song to dance to. Whenever I hear it, it just uplifts my spirit, and I absolutely love dancing to it.
Corny Michelle is not given his flowers enough for what he brings to the table in the Saskatchewan music scene. I mean, he's been around forever, and he's always, willing to lend a helping hand to, when square dancers, jiggers come, he's always there. And he's a brilliant musician. Like, just take it to celebrate Corny.
Yeah, he can play the fiddle. I've seen him play guitar, keyboard, bass. I'm pretty sure I've seen him play the drums, or I'm not. Maybe that's his son that I'm thinking of. But he's a really talented musician, 100%, and he plays a mean fiddle too. So
100%, yes. You don't have to tell me what gig it was or which place it was or any specifics, but tell me about your worst gig ever with the
oh
NDP.
boy,
Northern Prairie Dancers. Oh my God, I just said NDP.
that people mix that up all the time. So something that I guess we don't do a lot of is practice now. We just show up to gigs, and I guess once in a while, sometimes we'll have to bring in new dancers, and new dancers we don't practice, we just throw them in there. It's called trial by fire. Like you're gonna mess up, but if you keep your feet moving, keep a smile on your face, and have fun, like no one's gonna realize it. Other dancers might see it who dance at a higher level, but for the most part, people won't see it. But I think I have to go way back. We were sort of newer dancers. This might have been like 2011. We had a lot of our dancers at that time. I can't remember what it was, but they weren't there. So we had a bunch of new dancers. We didn't have much time to practice. And we went out onto this dance floor with no idea what we were going to do. And one of the dancers got spun really hard, and the guy let go of her, and she fell really hard on her butt and bounced. And all the dancers, we all started laughing, and the audience started laughing, and the fiddle player stopped, and we just sort of like laughed, and then like walked off the stage because we didn't have anything else to do. So that would have been I think we were like 17 or around at that time, and we had a bunch of new dancers. But yeah, like that, I feel like we were pretty unprepared, and then it was sort of just like good timing, I guess, when the dancer fell on her butt.
Best gig ever, most special.
Yeah, it was definitely up there. Is one of like it was like a core memory for sure.
Right. So, bad, good. It all works. Let's say that's awesome.
It does. It's just the laughs and the fun. I think it's unmatched.
Right. Where can people check out the Northern Prairie Dancers, let's say this fall? Anything upcoming?
Well, we have I'm trying to remember our bookings right now. We have a few bookings for August. We have Back to Batosh Days in July. There's a very large competition happening in Norway House in August. I believe it's the second week in August, with the first place prize of $25,000. So we're going to go ahead and try and make that. There's also a few gigs in La Ronge. I believe we're expected to go back to Northern Ontario. I have to check in with that chief to help celebrate a cultural week in Northern Ontario. There's quite a few stuff. Most of it's sort of being cooked up right now, and I'm just in the negotiation stages with a lot of folks right now. But if you do want to get a hold of the Northern Prairie Dancers, I would suggest going to Facebook and just typing in Northern Prairie Dancers. We should be right there. You can check out our videos. And sorry for just giving myself and the group a shameless plug here.
That's what this is for. It's for the shameless Northern Prairie Dancers. They make every event I've been a part of that they've been a part of, it just makes it 10 times more fun. So yeah, book the Northern Prairie Dancers. One last question for you. And this one's a little bit like, I've always wondered about it, and I've always wanted to ask you about it. A comic strip came out years ago that really, really looked like the Northern Prairie Dancers. And I think y'all acknowledged it at one point. Everyone kind of was convinced it was you, but was that you guys? And did you ever get any credit for it?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think I was in Ottawa at I think it's like a the Femme Michif conference. So it's like a Métis National Women's Conference, and I was speaking. And then I was just kind of going through like the booths and stuff like that, and just seeing like the written materials and what kind of books they had. And I was flipping through this comic book, and one was about jigging. So of course I got to check it out. And I was flipping through it, and I remember like seeing like remember seeing that specific page and going like, holy smokes, like that looks like my friend Summer, or that looks like my friend Jocelyn. Like I'm pretty sure that's them. And I remember sending it to the group chat that we have on Facebook, and I think it was Kayla Montgrand, like went on Google Images or something like that, and then like found like a pretty darn close like photo like that resembled that comic strip, and then we were like, it's definitely us, 100%. I don't think we got any credit for it, but I think that's okay. You know, it inspired an artist and a writer, I guess, to create this like written work of jigging and square dancing, and I guess it'll help spread awareness about it. So it was definitely neat. I think I got a copy of it actually somewhere around here, and I gave copies to everybody once I seen them. But that is us, 100%.
There's no way it's not you guys, and that's so cool. I mean, now you're just immortalized in this comic book.
I guess so, but I don't know. It was so. I guess it kind of felt like Superman a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. That's like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm so kidding about that. Oh, sorry. There was a question about the most interesting gig we've had, or like the best. It probably wasn't the best, but it was the most interesting, and it was just myself. But right before Christmas, I got invited to go to the penitentiary here in Prince Albert and to go dance. And a long time ago, we danced in the penitentiary in minimum security as a square dance group when we were all like 16, 17, to help celebrate a graduation ceremony, which was really cool. Like, not everybody goes into the penitentiary, but it was minimum security when we were teenagers. I can't really remember too much of it. It wasn't very eventful. But this past Christmas, I went, just myself, I went into the penitentiary, into the maximum security. I think it was like 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And then I danced in the penitentiary. And I'll admit, I felt a little bit like a jigging Johnny Cash when I was in there. But that was a really, really interesting experience. Everyone was asking me, like, are you scared? And I was a bit nervous. I'll admit, like, it's the penitentiary, right? You know, it has this like sort of like story behind it, and you know, but once I got in there and I started dancing and I started chatting with some of the inmates and stuff like that, they were really respectful, and I think a lot of them realized, like, hey, I'm just like, this guy's here just a couple days before Christmas. He wants to share a bit of his culture, and he wants to like give us a bit of entertainment. And they were a great crowd. And I remember one of the inmates coming up to me after, and he was like, I did something called a belt dance or a sash dance, and it's where you put a belt or sash down in an X and you dance around it. And it originally comes from Scotland, and it was called the sword dance. And one of the inmates there was Scottish. I don't believe he was Indigenous at all, but he came up to me like through the bars after, and he was like, hey, that was a really, really great dance. He's like, I never expected to see the sword dance. And he's like, thank you. It brought me some joy, and I really appreciate that. And that was a really, really cool experience. And it's one of the more interesting experiences, I would say, too. So if you just want to add that in there, that would be, yeah.
Would you do it again?
I would do it again. I would do it again. It's I don't know, like, a lot of the guys in there, they're in there for a long time, and they're in one of like the more secure units, and I imagine it would be difficult being away from your family, from your kids, and especially during, you know, around Christmas, when you're really thinking about your family. And you know, if it brought folks a little bit of joy, for sure I'd do it again.
That's the thing about like working in entertainment, is like, you never know where you're gonna end up. You never know who's going to be in the audience, and you don't know how they're going to react to it. You know, sometimes they are going to be on their cell phones the whole time and not really care. And then sometimes you can really impact someone's life. And
Yeah.
The amount of times I've sat in the audience while y'all have been performing, and the joy you bring to people's faces, especially like the elders, really stick out to me. How encouraged they are to see young people carrying on this tradition. That must be a special feeling.
It is. And you know, we've been dancing for about 10 years now, And we get a lot of joy from performing. We're very competitive. We love competing, but I've found for myself in the last 3 or 4 years now, like I still love competitions, but it's not really the same for me. I get a lot more joy. I get a lot more joy from teaching and from going into communities, working with youth, teaching them a little bit about jigging. A lot of times they'll teach myself and my dance partner, actually, us two, we go to a lot of communities. And these kids will like just be kind of messing around with their feet and making up new moves and stuff like that. But I get the most joy and happiness from going into these communities and working with these kids and passing this culture on, because me and Ashla and I, we've worked with a lot of youth, and I'm hoping there will be a positive impact from that, because the amount of square dancing groups in the last 30 years and competitions and square dancing competitions has declined in Saskatchewan for sure. I'm not sure, I can't speak about any other provinces, but hearing what the square dancing landscape was like 30 years ago and comparing it to what it is now, it's vastly different. And there has been a big decrease. So working to preserve that and passing it on to the next generation is it's what I live for.
Where do you hope to see the group in 10 years? What's your wish for the group?
Oh boy. Well, a few of us have kids now, and I hope that the group still exists. I hope that we're still dancing. I hope that throughout the 10 years we continue teaching youth in communities and traveling and passing that knowledge on to the next generation. But definitely seeing our kids, hopefully one day our kids will dance with the group. That would be phenomenal. Another square dance group out there that I think is really important and does a great job of this is the Cree Dancers. They originally were founded by 2 elders from Metis and Okamasis, and their leaders, Kevin and Amy, have been dancing since they were really tiny, and some of their kids, some of those Cree dancers, like they were dancing since they're like 7 or 8. Now their kids are dancing with them, and they're carrying on this legacy that their grandparents created, which is a beautiful one. And they have a really rich history. They've done a lot of dancing, a lot of teaching, a lot of preserving and passing on that knowledge. So definitely, hopefully somewhere along the path that Cree has taken.
For sure. I see it going there. Honestly, like it's such a powerful thing, especially for Northern Saskatchewan. Just has a special relationship with the Northern Prairie Dancers, as they do with Cree Dancers. And shout out to them, like you just did. Like they have definitely been an institution as well. And just thanks for all you guys do. It's enjoyable, because I can't dance. I've been around music forever, but for someone that just likes to feel that energy, like, thank you guys so much for what you do. And also, Modeste, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and share these stories with me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.